Changed over to a bobber, white jig. Bobber, white jig, and a crawler. Measure them real quick with my Leatherman. He's over 18. I think he's probably 9. Okay guys, so I went ahead and measured him. He's about 18 and a half, something like that. But I thought I'd show you how I process these fish, how I fillet them down. So the first thing, you want to make sure you've got a really sharp fillet knife. Their skin is actually quite tough. So what I'll do is I'll get underneath this fin and get as close to this gill as I can. And I'm going to make an incision. There's a lot of good meat up here. So I'm going to make a cut and follow this gill line under this fin and all the way up to his belly. It's a sharp knife and it's hard to get through initially. There we go. You can feel this fin bone. Try to go around that. What the heck? Where are you? I went through it instead. So there's my initial cut. Now I usually got to turn him around. Then I'm going to make a cut along this back here. And to help me get started, usually what I'll do, first of all I want to make sure I'm clear down to the spine, which I am, I can feel it. And I'll usually kind of pierce it. I'm not going that far in, I can feel his ribs as I'm doing this. Feeling his ribs. Just kind of going right along the spine and not going any deeper than his ribs. Until you hit a point about right there. You can go all the way through the fish. And then I'm just going to try to angle my knife down a little bit and follow the backbone. Just like that. Now I'm going to finish up my cuts. In other words, get it a little closer to his ribs. Just make sure I've cut all the way through. Now I just need to follow those bones up. In other words, the ribs are kind of, they're bent, kind of like my finger is bent like this. They're wrapping around the fish. So now I've got to, you know, fillet the meat away from the ribs. Just follow along the ribs and go gentle. Making easy cuts and putting pressure on it. Sometimes you can even actually just pull the meat. You can see where the ribs end. I get these last little guys. I'm basically right to the skin. Then I'm going to dive back down in. I just like to go slow. And by no stretch of the imagination am I an expert. This is my first one of the year, actually. It takes a little bit to get back in the swing of things. By the third fish, you'd have her down pretty good. So, I'm starting to get into his guts. I know I'm basically done. And then plus, if you look on this side, I'm clear down to his belly. There's a nice little fillet of fish right there. Now we're going to do the other side. It's hard with the camera there, I'm left-handed. See you, Rich. I'll try to have most of the carnage cleaned up before you get home.
Are you a helper, Daddy? Remember, you got those resources on the computer. Alright, guys. Love you guys.
Love you too, bye.
Look, I'm forgetting something, but I got the list.
There's the other fillet. So there is not much meat left on this fish. A lot of times you can hold it up to the light and you can actually see through it. I mean, there may be just a tiny bit that I left on the tail, but maybe just, I mean, we're talking minute amounts. If you were dying, you'd be like digging in there and getting the meat out of there and stuff, but that's a tiny, tiny amount. Alright, I've rinsed my fillet off. There's a little bit of blood in it, but it's not a big deal. Now what I want to do is skin it. I just use my fingernails and pin the skin down here at the tail end with my fingernails, and then I'm going to just start slicing with my knife just so I can get a handhold, and I'll try to do this with my thumb the way that it is. But then I'll more work. I can't do that with my thumb, doggone it. Oh, I can't do it that way. Normally what I'll do is I'll grab it with my thumb and actually keep my knife pretty stationary and just wiggle the fillet back, and the skin comes off pretty easily. But I think I'm going to have to use my knife more. And the skin comes off. Alright guys, if you're curious, I'll cut a little bit of his tail off. This is basically a boneless fillet. I mean, I'm 99% sure I don't have any bones in it, but if you feel like this and you feel a bone, you can always cut them out right now. These little black things, these are some sort of parasite. I'm not exactly 100% sure what they are. I don't usually worry about them. You'll find them a lot in bluegills and crappies and sunfish, and also normally I don't see them in the smallmouth like this, but these little things right here, if I can get him out of there. Those are little worms. If you catch a fish and you look at its gills, you can tell if they got them or not. I'm sure I've eaten plenty of them. I don't normally worry about it. This guy's got quite a few, so I'm going to cut them out. And plus I know that my wife and daughter don't exactly want that in their fish. So I cleaned the other one out. You can just see they're just little yellow spots. Like I said, I've never really seen a smallmouth get them like this. Too much anyway. Normally they're not this. This guy was must not have been exactly healthy. It was a good one to take out, I think. Anyway, I'm going to clean this guy up a little bit more. Alright guys, well I hope you liked that video. I just put the fish in, put those fillets in a a Tupperware thing, a little salt water in there. That's not really needed. I just threw it in there. Maybe it'll draw some of the blood out of there, which, like I said, that doesn't matter to me. Basically all I'm doing is waiting for my wife to come back home. She went shopping, and as soon as she comes home we're going to barbecue those suckers up. So hope you like this video, and take care.